Marc, welcome.
Thanks.
And welcome to Fair Conference. New York City, you flew in yesterday from California.
Yes, I took the red eye last night.
The number of people who've taken the red eye for this conference, I actually have a long list of that. I've been pleasantly surprised. So thank you, and I know that's not easy, and your commitment means a lot. So we'll keep this very crisp, and at the end, we'll open it up for questions for the team. And for those people who don't know MetricStream, Marc, why don't you tell us a little bit about MetricStream? What have you guys been doing? And you've been around the block. You've been the leader in the GRC Magic Quadrant for many years now.
Yeah.
And you've done a phenomenal job in going ahead and creating that ecosystem of really shaping the GRC market. So why don't we start with just your thoughts of, what's MetricStream up to and how things are going out there?
Yeah, sounds good. Before I do that, one of the best parts about the red eye though this time is I actually got a room at the TWA Hotel at JFK, and if you haven't been there, you should check it out. It's pretty cool. You walk.
Okay.
It literally transforms you back to the 1960s. They even play the music. So
That's great recommendation.
Yeah,
I'll not
there
be
you go.
surprised if some folks say that was the best part of our charter.
yeah, so just a little bit of background. Excuse me, on MetricStream. First of all, I joined there as CEO just about 6 months ago, and prior to that, I spent 10 years at Moody's Analytics. I ran a division there completely outside of GRC. It was in the structured finance space, but interestingly enough, I was very involved in risk with that business. But for those of you who don't know MetricStream, we actually are really one of the original players, I would say, in the whole GRC ecosystem. And, one of the things that I've learned is that the whole concept of GRC historically was pretty manual. You had all sorts of practitioners and there's lots of them as well as other stakeholders, but, doing a lot of work from a manual perspective. And early on, I think MetricStream saw an opportunity to do as what we say, which is to simplify GRC and really amplify outcomes. And so the goal was always to say, hey, how can we take a lot of these manual processes, whether, people entering data multiple times, spreadsheets, siloed organizations, and really create a platform that brings together audit, compliance, risk, cyber, et cetera. And that's what we set out to do many, many years ago, and really where we focus. Today we've got a platform that is really powerful in that it does that connection. It also allows organizations to leverage common taxonomies, common risk registers, control libraries, and so on. And so we've got a pretty large client base. We've got, I'd say, north of 1 million users today in 35 different countries. And interestingly enough, cyber GRC is probably our biggest, or I should say fastest growing business. In fact, we just closed a deal with one of the largest EV manufacturers in the world. And their goal was to basically take all their disparate systems and processes and sort of centralize it. And so we're really excited to be working with them. So that's a little bit about MetricStream.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Marc, again, the OG leaders in the GRC space, you've also had your team look at cyber risk quantification, because GRC is all about governance, risk, and compliance.
Yeah.
And, there's a big R in the center of governance, risk, and compliance. And I like telling people that, unfortunately, in most of GRC platforms, the G and the C are in capitals, while the R is in small letters, because that's just how it's been forever. And very sometimes rightfully so, because a lot of companies start with the evolution while being only compliant, and they go from compliance to controls. And risk is really almost considered like a first world problem, and an evolution towards that. And you cannot manage what you cannot measure. So we thought when we were starting SAFE and starting to roll out the platform almost 5 years back now, we thought that, look, the world is going towards being a more risk-driven, society, and therefore we'd like to be champions in just the quantification side. We want to take a small problem and do it really well, rather than take a big thing, because MetricStream's, 20 years old?
Yeah.
Over 2 decades, right? And you guys are one of the key leaders in that market, but it still took you 20 years, right? It's taken a lot of time, evolution of your platform. Therefore, we didn't want to go to the GRC route. We said, look, let's take one segment of GRC, which is risk quantification, and we built a solution which is arguably the number one solution on the planet for that. What are your thoughts on risk quantification? How do you view CRQ, especially from a vantage point that you have from a GRC perspective?
Yeah. First of all, I mean, I would say you guys have done an incredible job, right? And that's part of the reason I'm so excited to be on the stage here with you. I think you guys are clearly, the de facto standard, if you will, in that. But back to your, I guess, original question, I almost think of it as something of a language of accountability, if you will, across the organization. And, I just came from, for example, my board meeting out in California. And one of the things that, and you know this, one of the things the board said was, look, for everything that you're doing, there should be a number, a dollar amount associated with it, right? And if you think about CRQ, to me, it's critical, and it's only becoming more and more critical, because everyone from a board perspective to an executive perspective, you're dealing with people that aren't necessarily always the most technically savvy. You're dealing with people that may not fully understand the technical aspects of the risk, but when you put it into real financial terms for an organization, it makes a world of difference. And I'm not saying like heat maps and reports and all those things aren't important, but at the end of the day, and again, this, organizations have limited budgets.
Yep.
And what CRQ does, in my view, is it really allows the organization to zero in on what's the biggest impact from a dollar perspective, and then make prioritization decisions, based on that. And so, I think it's critical. It's only becoming, more critical. And then the other point I would make, which is again part of why I'm so excited to be working with you guys, is, we see it as more and more being integrated into overall GRC, right? And so we have a GRC system, and really what our clients are demanding is that, quantification, if you will, that SAFE brings to the table.
Fantastic. And that actually brings me to the point where, for the whole audience and beyond, I'm very excited to actually announce today that MetricStream and SAFE will be entering into a very deep strategic partnership where a lot of risk registers in MetricStream will be powered by the quantification of FAIR and SAFE. And multiple of our mutual customers will be able to benefit from that. Marc, question for you, right? What made you pick that up, and what made you, say that, look, SAFE is the right choice? And I know you said during one of our chats that some of your customers have been asking for it. And in our conversation the other day with some of your founders also was the fact that, look, CRQ has always been a need. Then MetricStream was like, hey, should we build it ourselves?
Yeah.
Or we rather partner with an organization like SAFE? And then you guys decided to say, look, it's better to partner, because what's the point of reinventing the wheel?
Yeah.
Because you guys are already innovating in so many other areas.
Yeah.
And things around that. So your quick thoughts on the partnership,
Yeah.
and how do you see that shaping up and shaping the future of GRC plus CRQ plus automation, all of that coming together?
Yeah. Well, first of all, truth be told, if you had asked me 7 months ago what CRQ was, I probably wouldn't even have been able to answer that question. But to the point, you were actually one of the first people I talked to, technically about a week or two before I joined MetricStream. And after that conversation, that's when I started to learn more about what you guys are doing, and FAIR, And so my interest was certainly there very, very early on. But to give you a little bit of a deeper perspective, here's how I see it and why I think the partnership makes so much sense. Again, when you look at MetricStream, I think of us as sort of a call it a system of record for GRC. And, our job is to centralize everything from across the organization. And over the years, you mentioned we've been around for quite a while. Over the years, we've definitely seen a number of shifts within the market in terms of what they're looking for from a systems perspective. And we've been, and certainly since I joined, we've been trying to look at that and say, okay, based on the feedback from the market, which are things like, how do we measure risks? We need systems that are, more configurable, faster to set up with custom workflows, giving us insights, et cetera. Based on all that, we've sort of set our strategy along, we call it the 3 C's, if you will. Mm-hmm. So continuous, cognitive, and cloud. And just to kind of give a little bit more of a flavor of what that means, right? Continuous means organizations today don't want to just do point-in-time control testing, right? Yeah. Everything has to be through things like continuous control monitoring, real-time integrations, and so forth. Cognitive is saying, hey, we've got all this data. Now let's use AI or other models to sort of provide more insights into things. And then from a cloud perspective, it's not just like, hey, hosted cloud. It's more, again, how do we make it really easy for our customers to configure the system, make it fit within their workflows, and that's something we're really good at. By the way, one other thing I'll just mention: we actually just got 12th in the Chartis Risk Tech 100, oh, wow. which was a huge honor, and we got category leader in audit and enterprise risk. So that was cool. But again, so we do all those things, but the reality is I've always been a believer that you try to stick to those things that you're good at and then work with the best in the other areas that customers want. And so I look at it as a perfect combination where between the two of us, you guys are experts at CRQ. We've got the combined GRC offering. And I just think from a market perspective and a combined customer perspective, it's a win-win. And I think, strategically it fits really, really well. So, again, super excited about it.
No, certainly, Mark. And, we are very, very excited. And one of the things that I've seen, especially the moment you took over the CEO of MetricStream, one of the big focus you've had is the automation and AI for MetricStream as a platform. In my keynote yesterday, we actually talked about and actually showcased a lot of actual agentic AI workflows, which powers CRQ and third-party risk management. And of course, that extends into GRC. So when you talk about alignment in terms of the vision and the execution of where both the companies are going, I just don't look at this as a technical integration. I actually look at it from an integration of a shared vision that the future needs to be more automated. It needs to be something which is more autonomous, more intelligent, more data-driven. 100%. And I think, for me, the best partnerships have always been where we align with the vision of the company that we are partnering with, because then it's a 1 + 1 = 11 story. Yeah. Tell us views of yours around how you're transforming MetricStream with AI and how's that shaping?
Yeah, great question. And obviously AI comes up in pretty much every customer prospect, discussion that we have. I guess I would say I look at it along a few different spectrums in terms of how we're using it. So, kind of the further end I'll get to in a minute is the more exciting side. But before you get to the exciting side, what I think we're seeing and where we're investing a ton of money in is how do we use it to really make it so changes workflows, changes to form configurations in terms of, hey, we need this data, or we enter this data, and then once we do that, what process does it kick off downstream? I mean, before, that was kind of painful, right? It would take a while to make the change. And, now what we've done is we've introduced an agentic layer to our platform where instead of a developer, for example, having to go in and go into an app studio and do all that stuff, it's literally a chat interface that our clients can use and say, hey, this is what I want to do. And it sort of talks to you that way. So that's one fundamental way we're using it. The second, and we've been doing this quite a while now, and I mentioned it earlier, is from a sort of more of a model perspective, right? Where, again, we've got a lot of data in the system, and that data is useful, but at the same time, how do you zero in on what's important to, the professional? And so we've spent a lot of time integrating those models. And then, beyond that, it's things like checking for duplicate controls, right? I mean, organizations often have, hundreds, thousands of controls. How do you more easily point out to, to business people, where that exists? And then finally, and I think this is probably the most exciting aspect of it, is just pure automation, right? Autonomous agents that will, help with risk assessments and control testing. And maybe to some extent, it'll be partly just augmenting human behavior. But really, as we're rolling things out, we're doing it, from both augment as well as full end-to-end process. And I think the other thing I would mention there is that, the way we're thinking about it is within the application itself, there's sort of out-of-the-box AI use cases, if you will. But then we're actually trying to work pretty closely with our customer base and create sort of customer-specific use cases so that, whatever their processes, you can use our framework and sort of automate that. So, and again, I think this is where, integrating what you guys are doing with what we're doing is just a huge win for the market.
Yeah, I think, the fun part about AI is, Mark, that the old way in which platforms used to talk to each other was APIs.
Yeah.
Now, think of APIs as like, I almost look at them as, as black and white movies. And the new way of integrating via MCP servers is not just a color movie, but you're looking at these are your 5-dimensional movies. Have you been to one of those where the seat moves?
Oh, yeah.
It sprays some water on your face.
Yes.
It's almost like a simulator that you would go in Disneyland on. But that's the difference between APIs and MCP servers.
Yeah.
Because every automation capability that you spoke about, we can leverage that with SAFE, and we are integrating with you because our MCP server can talk to your MCP server in a language that they both understand.
Yep.
And make your platform do, and vice versa. MetricStream can make SAFE do, thanks to this incredible technology around, MCP servers. So I'm very, very excited about that. We've gone to that point where, Mark, I love what you said, automating workflows, because if you keep the hype of AI aside, right? Of course, everybody talks about AI is big, blah, blah, blah. I always keep talking to my team about, show me the actual hours that it has saved for people, because that is where rubber meets the road. The reason why ChatGPT is useful, it genuinely saves me hours of my time on a weekly basis. When I'm writing an article, when I'm writing a document, when I'm thinking through some document which is out there, it genuinely saves that time. And as long as AI doesn't do that, it's just a shiny object. It doesn't make sense. And that needs to happen with a very high degree of accuracy, very high degree of fidelity. It needs to happen fast. You can't be waiting 4 hours before AI thinks and give you output, or for that matter, even a few minutes. So that's what we've been trying to drive from a SAFE perspective. We actually think AI will be table stakes for any B2B platform moving forward. So therefore, the way we think we'll differentiate ourselves in the future is we like calling it the AI of AI. What that means is the accuracy index of artificial intelligence. And the reason why we say that is because, again, every single platform will have AI agents. If you don't have AI agents 24 months from today and you're a B2B product, you're dead. But on the other side, when you have those AI agents, the question will not be, did you have it or not? It should be, how good are they? How accurate are they? When they say they're doing something, are they really doing that? And being able to trace that, have that defendable, traceable, that we think will be the rubber meeting the road moment. And that's where a lot of, fake AI agents versus the real value providers will actually differentiate themselves. And obviously, SAFE is doing a lot. I know MetricStream is doing a lot on those lines also to ensure not just you ship AI, but also talk about the quality of AI as you keep moving forward. So that's wonderful to know.
Actually, one thing on that, and I think you're 100% right. I think the trick with AI is outcomes. And one of the big shifts I've seen, and I could say over the course of my career, more recently, like organizations are not necessarily making decisions on systems based on features as much as they're making decisions on outcomes, right? And how much time, how much money can, this system save for me, right? And, what that means is you do need to have the level of accuracy you talk about, and you have to pick the right use cases that actually add value for the organization.
Exactly. And I think that's where companies like MetricStream and SAFE are very uniquely positioned, because we have very large customers. And being embedded into the workflows of these customers, them talking to us, telling us what they need, that I think creates the biggest differentiator. And as long as I keep telling this to my team, as long as we keep listening and we really want to listen and then provide the customers what they want, not always, sometimes you challenge them when you have a different perspective, but most times, probably 6 or 7 out of 10 times, the customer knows what they want.
Yeah.
Giving it to them and doing that in the right way, I think creates a massive difference. So that's again something that we're very, very aligned on. Looking into the future, right? The last section of our chat, Marc, again, you have a very interesting vantage point. By the way, one uniqueness about this, audience here, by the way, this is a seating with 600 people. So it looks spread. We probably have 150, 200 people right now listening to us. But most of them are with the GRC organization. Either they're leaders of GRC or they're in some shape or form within the GRC organization, or they're CISOs who are sitting here listening to us. What is your prediction? What's your view around the future of GRC? Where is that going? And then, of course, I'll end with, how I think about CRQ, and then we'll both talk about what the future of CRQ plus GRC looks like. But what are your thoughts of the future of GRC?
Yeah, so I think the first way I would answer that is I'll put my CEO lens on. And one of the things that I think scares me more than anything is ransomware attacks, data breaches, those types of things, right? Because when you're running a company, the potential issues that those can cause and disruptions and amount of loss is huge. And so the world we're in now, and I don't need to tell everybody this, but the level of sophistication of these attacks and whatever, phishing, or not phishing, but phishing expeditions, is just becoming more and more, advanced, right? And AI is going to drive that more. So I see that certainly continuing. And what I also see is that risks now are very, very much interconnected, right?
Mm-hmm.
A risk associated with a third party can have an impact with, your op risk and what you're going to do and so forth. So to me, that's where, and it comes back to, the conversation we were just having about the importance of using technology to really do everything possible, to protect against that. I mean, you guys are also doing a fantastic job on the threat intelligence side, right?
Yep.
I think that's a really fascinating thing that you guys are doing. But it's I see the future as, a world where GRC in general is much, much more autonomous. Our clients are now demanding continuous control monitoring. They're, looking for, the ability to just, again, take these manual tasks and fully automate it. I think that, having a platform that is fully integrated and has partnerships with folks like yours is just going to be more and more important.
Fantastic. Yeah, we feel the same, Mark. And again, SAFE, the mission statement of SAFE is to build what we call as cyber AGI. And what's AGI, artificial general intelligence, is the mission statement of what OpenAI is trying to build. The way OpenAI defines AGI is basically a system of intelligence which can do most things better than most human beings in a safe way. They're not there yet, obviously, but that's what OpenAI, ChatGPT, that's how they define AGI. Our theory of, what AGI will have as an implication with other industries is there'll be generic AGIs that the Googles and the Metas and the OpenAIs of the world will chase. This is basically intelligence which is trained on publicly available data, generic data. It'll be very useful because there's a lot of data available publicly, but we also think that there will be super specialty AGIs in the future. Let me explain you what I mean by that. When you talk about healthcare, you talk about doctors, for example, right? There's a lot of data which is in the medical profession that never really makes it to the public eye. And when you train GenAI agents, not just based on the data on LLMs, but actually add things around reasoning, which is very contextual to those verticals, we think there'll be super specialty AGIs. There'll be a healthcare AGI, which will be the greatest doctor ever. There will be physics AGI, almost like in Albert Einstein, which will actually do breakthroughs in the physics side of things. Similarly, we think there'll be cybersecurity AGI, a system of intelligence which can predict, detect, respond, recover completely autonomously. Now, for any one product to be able to do all of that, it's actually impossible. It doesn't just sound impossible, it's impossible because you don't have infinite lines of code. It's almost like saying I have one product which does what Wiz does and CrowdStrike does and Palo Alto Networks does and Rubrik does and SAFE does and MetricStream does, everything together. But what is possible thanks to AI, again, goes back to the MCP server conversation. There are parts of that SAFE wants to do. We want to be the key engine that predicts a breach before it occurs. That's what a core value of Cyber Risk Quantification is. That is predicting a breach before it occurs. That's a likelihood. If it occurs, how much will it cost you? That's the prediction side. The detection side of things is where, there can be companies where our MCP server talks to detection companies like CrowdStrike and get data from there and make CrowdStrike do things based on the risk context that we will have. Then there are obviously companies which are on the respond and recover side, companies like Rubrik that we very, very closely integrate with. Similarly, doing core workflows around GRCs where you guys come into the picture.
Yep.
That is the vision that we are going towards, that we say that we will build the world's first cyber AGI. And again, still early days, but that's the big vision, and that's what we think the future of cybersecurity will look like.
Yeah.
Where we want to be the CISO cockpit, that one place where people log in every day. When I talk about people, I'm talking about security leaders to take decisions. And a lot of times you don't need to take decisions. The system's deciding for itself.
Right.
Because it has the right context, it has the right controls, it has the right kind of telemetry and put things together. So that's our view of how the future of that looks like.
That's fascinating.
And that is where we feel that, partnership with, platforms and organizations like yourself who are truly trusted partners for managing risk for so many years, actually decades, in the industry, is going to be a game changer. And it's truly deliver value on our mutual customers.
Absolutely.
As we keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Any parting thoughts, Mark, here that the audience, if they're on the journey of GRC/CRQ, what would be your recommendations to them? Any parting thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, well, again, obviously, I'm super excited for this partnership and what we can do together. I think our core capabilities are very complementary. Mm-hmm. And again, I've always been a big believer that you focus on your core, and then you work with the best systems partners, whatever, in other areas. I would say from a MetricStream perspective, as you said, we've been around for many years, and I'm really excited about taking us as an organization to the next level, evolving and continuing to provide a lot of value to our customer base.
Well, I echo that. I don't have better words to add than what you just did, Mark. We are very excited to share with the world that we're announcing a deep partnership between MetricStream and SAFE. And moving forward, our mutual customers and even potential customers who will become mutual customers of ours will be able to benefit between a two-way integration of both the capabilities of the platform. So thank you, Mark, and thanks for taking the red eye for being at the FAIR conference with all of us. Yeah. And, I know that the audience got a lot of value from your insights. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.